Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive.
Yeah.
We're going to be wading into some pretty choppy waters today.
Oh.
The aftermath of a breakup.
Yeah.
And I know from personal experience and just talking to people that breakups can feel like the end of the world.
Absolutely.
But what if we kind of flip the script on that?
Mm-hmm.
What if instead of the end, a breakup is actually a new beginning?
Not.
What if all that heartbreak, as awful as it feels in the moment,
Right.
could actually be like a catalyst for some amazing personal growth?
Well, it's not just a what if. It's actually backed up by neuroscience.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Breakups, they activate the same brain regions as physical pain.
Wow.
So that feeling of like you're being punched in the gut or your heart's breaking.
Your brain is literally processing it like a real injury.
Yeah.
So that explains why we feel so blindsided and just completely overwhelmed.
Exactly.
So our whole emotional system just gets hijacked.
It does.
So where do we even begin to reclaim our sense of equilibrium after something like that?
Well, it starts with permission. Permission.
Permission to just feel those raw emotions.
No. Okay.
Resist that urge to immediately slap a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. This isn't about rushing to get over it or pretend everything's fine when it's really not.
Right. Right.
It's about honoring the healing process.
So no toxic positivity?
No toxic positivity.
Okay. Good. Good.
We need to actually process those feelings.
Yeah, and that's where I think a lot of us get stuck, right? We're told to be strong and move on quickly,
Right.
but that just makes us bottle everything up.
Yeah, you're just suppressing
Yeah.
all that.
So we need to allow ourselves to be a little messy for a bit.
Absolutely. It's like trying to build a house on shaky ground.
Hmm.
You need to clear the debris before you can lay a solid foundation.
Okay. So that foundation is
Self-compassion.
self-compassion. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. So once we've kind of acknowledged the pain
Yeah.
and given ourselves permission to actually feel it.
Where do we go from there? How do we start to shift our perspective from this is the end
Yeah.
to this is a new beginning?
That's where I think the idea of redirection comes in.
Redirection.
Yeah, we tend to get so fixated on what we've lost in the breakup, right?
Yeah, the companionship, the shared dreams, the future we thought we had.
Exactly. But by shifting our focus, we can actually start to see how this ending might be pointing us in a direction that's ultimately better for us.
So instead of a dead end, it's more like a fork in the road.
Exactly.
We might not have chosen this particular path, but it could lead to someplace amazing
Absolutely.
that we wouldn't have discovered otherwise.
Precisely. Sometimes relationships, they just run their course. People grow, people evolve, and sometimes those paths diverge. And that's okay. It's not necessarily a failure, but a natural progression.
That's a huge mindset shift for a lot of people,
Right.
myself included. We tend to view breakups as this referendum on our worthiness.
Right.
Like if the relationship didn't last, we must be flawed somehow.
That is such a common misconception.
Yeah.
It's important to remember that personal growth can happen within relationships. And sometimes that growth leads us in different directions.
Okay.
We might find ourselves making compromises that we didn't even realize were chipping away at our authentic selves.
So the breakup, while painful, it can actually free us from those compromises and give us the space to kind of reconnect with who we really are.
Exactly.
That's a really powerful way to reframe the whole experience.
It is.
But how do we actually put that into practice? Do we just keep repeating redirection like a mantra?
Well, it takes a bit more than that.
Okay.
It involves some honest self-reflection.
Okay.
Ask yourself, what lessons did this relationship teach me? What parts of myself did I neglect or suppress? And now, without those limitations, what aspects of myself can I nurture and develop?
So it's about turning inward and reclaiming those parts of ourselves that may have been dimmed or, put on hold during the relationship.
Yeah.
It's like hitting the reset button on our own personal growth journey.
Exactly. And as you start to rediscover those neglected passions and interests, you might find yourself feeling lighter, more energized, and more excited about the future than you ever imagined.
This is where I think the whole glow up concept comes in.
Yes.
But it's not just about external changes, right?
Right. It's not just about getting a new haircut or revamping your wardrobe.
Okay.
Although those things can be fun and boost your confidence.
Sure.
The real glow up happens from the inside out. It's about investing in your well-being.
Okay.
Mentally, emotionally, and physically.
So things like therapy, learning new skills, prioritizing your health, maybe even taking that solo trip you've always dreamed of.
Exactly.
It's about creating a life that brings you joy independent of a romantic relationship.
Exactly. And a big part of that is surrounding yourself with supportive people.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, this might be a good time to reassess your friendships.
Okay.
Are there people who constantly bring you down or keep you stuck in the past? Maybe it's time to create some distance and focus on cultivating relationships that uplift and inspire you.
So it's about consciously choosing to surround ourselves with people who champion our growth and celebrate our journey, even when it gets messy.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because as you start investing in yourself and building a life you love, you'll naturally attract people who are aligned with your values and appreciate you for who you truly are,
This all makes sense, but it's easy to get caught up in the fear that we'll never find love again after a breakup.
right?
Is it even possible to open our hearts again after going through something so painful?
It absolutely is.
Okay.
But it's important to approach moving on from a place of wholeness, not a need to fill a void.
So no rushing into another relationship just to avoid being alone.
Exactly. Take the time you need to heal and rediscover yourself.
Hmm.
When you're ready, you can approach new relationships with a stronger sense of self and a clearer understanding of what you want and deserve.
This is not about desperately searching for someone to complete us, but rather about finding people who complement and enhance our already whole selves.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And remember, loving again isn't a step backward.
Mm.
It's a movement forward, carrying all the wisdom and self-awareness you've gained from your previous experiences.
This is all so insightful. It's like you're giving us a roadmap for turning heartbreak into a springboard for growth and self-discovery.
That's exactly what I'm hoping to do.
Yeah.
Because even though breakups are incredibly painful, they can also be incredibly transformative.
This has been such a great start to our deep dive.
Yeah.
But before we move on, I want to make sure we take a moment to really let all this sink in.
Absolutely. It's a lot to process.
We'll be back in just a moment to explore some practical strategies for navigating those early stages of healing and starting to build that brighter future.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned. All right, so we're back and ready to kind of dive into the how of all this. You know, we've talked about the big picture, the mindset shifts, but how do we actually navigate those early days and weeks after a breakup when everything just feels so raw and overwhelming?
Well, I think it's important to remember that healing, it isn't linear.
Okay.
You know, there will be good days and bad days,
Mm-hmm.
moments of strength and moments of vulnerability.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a roller coaster.
Oh, okay.
You're going to have those climbs and those drops and twists and turns.
So no beating ourselves up if we have a day where we just want to stay in bed and binge watch rom-coms with a pint of ice cream.
Exactly. Give yourself grace.
Hmm.
Healing takes time, and it's not about forcing yourself to feel a certain way.
Okay.
It's about honoring where you are in the process.
That makes me think about the whole support system thing. Like,
Oh.
who do we call when we're feeling those lows or even those highs we need to celebrate?
Yeah, your support system is crucial.
Okay.
Lean on those trusted friends and family members who can provide a listening ear, a shoulder to cry on, or even just a distraction when you need it.
And don't underestimate the power of professional support as well.
Oh, yeah. Therapy.
Yeah, a therapist can provide tools and strategies to help you navigate those difficult emotions and develop healthy coping mechanisms.
Therapy can be such a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
It's like having a coach in your corner
Right.
who can help you understand those patterns and behaviors that might be holding you back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And remember, asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. It takes courage to acknowledge when you need support.
Okay, so we've got our support system in place. We're allowing ourselves to feel the feels.
Right.
What are some tangible steps we can take to start nurturing that internal glow up, that
Yeah.
rediscovery of ourselves?
One of the most powerful things you can do is just reconnect with activities and passions that bring you joy.
Oh, okay.
What did you love doing before the relationship? What have you always wanted to try but never had the time or courage?
So dusting off that old guitar, signing up for that pottery class, finally booking that solo trip. Okay. This is about reclaiming those parts of yourself that may have been neglected or put on hold during the relationship. It's like rekindling the flame of your own unique spirit.
And as we start to reconnect with those passions, I imagine it helps us shift our focus away from the pain of the breakup
Yeah.
and toward the excitement of what's possible in the future.
Absolutely. It's about filling your own cup, nurturing your own interests, and rediscovering the joy of doing things for you.
And while we're talking about doing things for ourselves, I think it's a good time to bring up boundaries.
Yes.
Everyone talks about setting boundaries,
Yeah.
but what do they actually look like, especially after a breakup?
Boundaries are essential.
Okay.
especially in those early stages of healing.
Mm-hmm.
They're about creating space for yourself to process, to heal, and to rediscover who you are outside of the context of the relationship.
So practical things like unfollowing your ex on social media,
Yes.
avoiding places where you might bump into them,
Right.
maybe even setting some limits on communication.
Exactly. And it's not about being mean or vindictive.
Okay.
It's about protecting your own emotional well-being and giving yourself the space you need to move on.
It's like creating a safe haven for yourself,
Yeah.
where you can heal without constantly being triggered by reminders of the past.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And boundaries aren't just about protecting yourself from your ex.
Oh,
They're also about setting healthy limits with yourself.
that's an interesting point.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by setting boundaries with ourselves?
It's about making conscious choices that support your healing and growth.
Okay.
Maybe that means saying no to social events that, will be emotionally draining.
Hmm.
Or maybe it means setting aside time each day for self-care practices that nourish your soul.
So it's about being mindful of our energy and not overcommitting ourselves,
Yes.
especially when we're feeling vulnerable.
Exactly.
It's about prioritizing our own well-being and making choices that align with our values, not just our old habits or the expectations of others.
You got it. Boundaries are a form of self-respect.
Yeah.
They're a way of saying, I value myself enough to prioritize my needs and protect my energy.
And as we start to set those boundaries, both with others and with ourselves,
Yeah.
I imagine it creates a ripple effect in all areas of our lives.
Absolutely. It's about reclaiming your power, taking control of your narrative, and creating a life that feels authentic and fulfilling.
Mm.
And as you start to embody this newfound sense of self, you'll naturally attract people who respect your boundaries and appreciate you for who you truly are.
This is also encouraging. It's like you're saying that even though breakups are tough,
Mm-hmm.
they can actually be a catalyst for creating a life that is even better than what we imagined before.
Exactly. It's about seeing the opportunity in the midst of the challenge, the potential for growth in the midst of the pain.
That reminds me of that quote.
Oh, yeah.
The wound is the place where the light enters you. It's in those moments of brokenness
Right.
that we have the greatest opportunity for transformation.
I love that. And it's so true. Yeah.
When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, to feel the painfully, to learn the lessons, we emerge stronger, wiser, and more resilient than before.
This has been such a great discussion so far.
Yeah, it has.
We've talked about allowing ourselves to grieve, building a strong support system, reigniting our passions, and setting healthy boundaries.
Right.
What are some other key takeaways for our listeners as they navigate this post-breakup journey?
Well, one of the most important things to remember is that you are not alone.
Okay.
Breakups are a universal experience, and countless people have walked this path before you.
Right.
Reach out to those you trust, share your story, and allow yourself to be supported.
It's so easy to isolate ourselves when we're hurting,
Yeah,
but connecting with others is so vital for healing.
absolutely.
It reminds us that we're not broken, we're not failures, and we're not alone in this.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of self-care.
Oh, that's so important.
Yeah, make time for activities that nourish your mind, body, and soul.
Whether it's taking a long bath, reading a good book, spending time in nature, or simply taking a few deep breaths, prioritize those moments that bring you peace and restore your energy.
Self-care is not selfish, it's essential.
Absolutely.
It's like putting on your own oxygen mask first before helping others.
Exactly.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah, and remember, this is a marathon, not a sprint.
Okay.
Be patient with yourself, celebrate small victories, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it.
This is all so incredibly helpful. I feel like we're really starting to equip our listeners with the tools and perspectives they need to navigate this challenging time.
Good, I hope so.
Yeah.
And remember, there's no one right way to heal from a breakup.
Okay.
Everyone's journey is unique, and what works for one person might not work for another.
So it's about being curious,
Yes.
experimenting with different approaches, and figuring out what resonates with us on a personal level.
Exactly. Trust your intuition, listen to your inner wisdom, and be gentle with yourself along the way.
This has been such a rich and insightful conversation.
It has.
But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question.
Okay.
What if instead of viewing this breakup as a setback, you saw it as an opportunity to rewrite your love story? To let go of those old narratives that might be holding you back and create a new chapter that reflects the amazing, evolving person you are becoming.
That's such a powerful reframing.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, this breakup might just be the catalyst you needed to create a love story that is even more fulfilling and authentic than you ever thought possible.
We'll be back in just a moment to explore that idea further and dive into the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
Stay with us. We're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into embracing change after heartbreak.
Yeah, let's bring it all home and talk about how to really step into that new chapter.
Before the break, we were talking about this exciting idea of viewing a breakup not as the ending of your love story, but as the beginning of something even more incredible.
It's a powerful shift in perspective for sure.
And one that can be, truly transformative.
Absolutely.
Because breakups can leave us feeling so lost and disoriented.
Right.
Like our whole world has been turned upside down. So where do we even begin to rebuild?
Well, that feeling of disorientation, it's completely natural,
Yep.
but it's also where the magic happens. It's in those moments of uncertainty that we have the greatest opportunity for growth and reinvention.
So instead of clinging to the past or trying to, force things back to the way they were,
Right.
we can kind of embrace the unknown and see it as a blank canvas.
Exactly. This is your chance to rewrite the script of your life, to define what love, happiness, and fulfillment look like for you.
It's like that saying, when one door closes, another one opens.
Mm,
But sometimes we're so fixated on that closed door that we miss the open one right in front of us.
that's so true. And that open door might lead to opportunities and experiences you never even imagined.
So how do we actually start writing this new chapter?
Yeah.
It feels kind of daunting. Do
Yeah.
we need like an outline,
Not
a
necessarily.
character list,
Yeah.
a 5-year plan?
It doesn't have to be that rigid. It's more about setting intentions, exploring possibilities, and being open to new experiences.
So maybe instead of a detailed plan, we need like a compass to guide us in the general direction we want to go.
That's a great analogy. And the beauty of it is that you get to choose the direction. What are your values? What are your passions? What kind of relationships do you want to cultivate?
This is where all that self-reflection we talked about earlier comes in.
Exactly.
Really taking the time to get to know ourselves again
Mm-hmm.
outside of the context of the relationship.
Exactly. And remember, it's okay if you don't have all the answers right away. This is a journey of self-discovery.
So we need to give ourselves permission to experiment, to try new things, to, stumble and course correct along the way.
Exactly. Be patient with yourself, celebrate small victories, and most importantly, have fun along the way.
Because at the end of the day, life is too short to be anything but joyful.
Couldn't agree more. Embracing change, even when it's painful, can lead to a level of joy and fulfillment you never thought possible.
This has been such an empowering conversation.
It has.
It's amazing how something that can feel so devastating can actually become a catalyst for such positive transformation.
It really is. It's a testament to the human spirit's resilience, and our incredible capacity for growth, even in the face of adversity.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. What advice would you give to someone navigating the aftermath of a breakup?
Embrace the unknown. This isn't the end of your story. It's just the beginning of a new chapter. One that has the potential to be even more beautiful and fulfilling than the last. Trust the journey, believe in yourself, and never stop exploring the vast landscape of your own heart.
Beautifully said. And remember, everyone, you are stronger than you think. You are worthy of love. And you are capable of creating a life that lights you up from the inside out. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into embracing change after heartbreak. Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep believing in the power of new beginnings.